From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Unless there's a democratic uprising here, there isn't going to be much chance for the people elsewhere who are struggling courageously. What they're doing is inspiring, and we should recognize that, but we can't overlook the fact that what the U.S. and Europe do, and it's Europe too, is very significant.
Professor Noam Chomsky. We spend the hour with the world-renowned political dissident and linguist. He joins us live for the first time in our studio on this 15th anniversary week of Democracy Now!
As long as people are quiet and passive, you can, the CEO of the Goldman Sachs can just get a $12.5 million bonus, as he did a couple of days ago, and have his base salary quadrupled as a few days ago, already astronomical, while you're attacking pensions for teachers and police. As long as the population's quiet, yeah, we can continue, just as in the Middle East, just as in Latin America, just as everywhere. Those are critical facts, and we have to face them about ourselves.
MIT professor Noam Chomsky on uprising North Africa, the Middle East, and here at home. We're also joined by Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, Marwan Bashara. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. At least 4 people have been killed and over 300 wounded in the Bahraini government's crackdown on pro-democracy protests. In an overnight raid, heavily armed riot police attacked thousands of demonstrators in the capital Manama with rubber bullets, tear gas, and concussion grenades. Women and children were among the wounded. More than 600 people have reportedly been treated for injuries, and some 60 people are said to be missing. Bahrain is a key U.S. government ally in the Middle East, hosting the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. On Wednesday, the new White House press secretary, Jay Carney, continued the Obama administration's equivocal stance on the protests.
Bahrain, like all the countries in the region, needs to respect the universal rights of its citizens, their right to protest, the right to have their grievances heard. And that they should refrain from violence on both sides. And, we are obviously watching events in Bahrain and around the region very closely.
The Bahrain protests are among a number erupting across the Middle East and North Africa following the uprisings in Egypt and Tunisia. In Yemen, 2 people were killed Wednesday when police opened fire on a crowd in the southern city of Aden. At least 4 people were wounded in the capital Sana'a when student protesters clashed with supporters of U.S.-backed President Ali Abdullah Saleh. In Libya, state forces have killed at least 5 people in growing rallies against Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's 41-year rule. Protesters have set fire to police stations and outposts in separate cities. The Libyan government has begun limiting Internet access, and there are reports protesters have been warned they'll be met with live bullets if they join another round of protests set for today. In Iran, violence broke out Wednesday at the funeral of a student killed during an opposition protest earlier this week. Both pro- and anti-government demonstrators have blamed the other side for the student's death. And in Iraq, state forces killed 3 people Wednesday after a large crowd rallied in the city of Kut over a lack of government services. Hundreds of protesters have gathered in the southern city of Basra today, demanding the ouster of the local governor. The unrest in Iraq comes as the Obama administration continues to float the prospect of a prolonged U.S. occupation. On Wednesday, Defense Secretary Robert Gates told a congressional hearing Iraq will face strong challenges if the U.S. follows through on a planned withdrawal later this year. Gates repeated previous assertions that a withdrawal could be delayed if the U.S.-backed Iraqi government requests it.
There is certainly on our part an interest in having an additional presence, and the truth of the matter is the Iraqis are going to have some problems that they're going to have to deal with if we are not there in some numbers. They will not be able to do the kind of job in intelligence fusion. They won't be able to protect their own airspace. They will have problems with logistics and maintenance, but it's their country. It's a sovereign country. This is the agreement that was signed by President Bush. and the Iraqi government, and we will abide by the agreement unless the Iraqis ask us to have additional people there.
The New York Times is reporting a secret Obama administration report predicted top U.S. allies in the Middle East were ripe for revolt in the absence of democratic reforms. President Obama is said to have ordered the assessment last year to gauge how the U.S. could balance its so-called strategic interests in the region with calls for democracy. The existence of the report suggests the Obama administration was far more prepared for the prospect of a democratic uprising in Egypt than it has let on. The White House has claimed it was caught off guard when the youth-led protest erupted against longtime U.S. ally Hosni Mubarak last month. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton initially called Mubarak's government, quote, stable and responsive to the legitimate needs and interests of the Egyptian people. Speaking before the Senate Intelligence Committee, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper said the U.S. will step up its monitoring of social media to better understand pro-democracy sentiment in the Middle East.
We're not like Sherwin-Williams paint. We don't cover the earth equally. And so, frankly, Tunisia was probably not up there on our top 10 countries that we're watching closely. So there is the aspect of, the spread, the balance of our collection, priorities, exactly. So that obviously we're going to work on that. I think the notion of as the chairman correctly observed, is we're going to pay a lot more attention to social media, and what else what else could we do there to extract warning from this?
In other testimony Wednesday, CIA Director Leon Panetta said the U.S. would likely imprison Osama bin Laden and other top al-Qaeda figures at Guantanamo should they ever be captured. No new prisoners have been sent to Guantanamo since President Obama took office. Panetta's statement has been interpreted as an admission the White House intends to continue using Guantanamo despite a pledge to shut it down. In Egypt, officials in Switzerland say they have uncovered funds belonging to either the family of the former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak or his senior ministers. It's unclear how much money was found. Egypt's new military government has asked countries worldwide to freeze accounts linked to Mubarak's regime. Puerto Rico Governor Luis Fortuño has begun withdrawing the police occupation of the main University of Puerto Rico campus in San Juan after 2 months. SWAT teams and riot squads took over the campus in December following a massive student strike against fee hikes and privatization. Hundreds of students have been arrested, and some have reported being beaten, including sexually harassed and tortured in the ensuing crackdown. An estimated crowd of over 15,000 marched against the police occupation last Saturday. Speaking on the House floor, Democratic Congressmember Luis Gutierrez condemned the crackdown on Puerto Rican students.
I want to talk to you today about a part of the world where the rights of citizens of all walks of life to protest and speak their minds is being denied with clubs and pepper spray. A part of the world where a student strike led the university to ban student protests anywhere, anytime on campus. And where when the students protested the crackdown on free speech, they were violently attacked by heavily armed riot police. What faraway land has seen student protests banned, union protesters beaten, and free speech advocates jailed? The United States of America's colony of Puerto Rico.
A Somali national has been sentenced to over 33 years in prison for his role in the 2009 kidnapping of an American cargo captain in the Indian Ocean. Abdul Wali Musi survived the incident after Navy snipers shot his 3 accomplices aboard their boat. Musi was tried as an adult, but his family claimed he was only 15 years old at the time of his capture. And in Wisconsin, an estimated crowd of well over 10,000, some said tens of thousands, rallied in the state capitol Wednesday in protest of a bill that would eliminate almost all collective bargaining rights for public workers and slash their pay and benefits. Teachers, students, public workers, and their supporters filled the State House in Madison for several hours, chanting slogans and beating drums. It was the largest rally at the Wisconsin Capitol in years. Classes at Madison schools were canceled after a large number of teachers called in sick to join the demonstration. Despite the protests, the state legislature's budget writing committee advanced the measure late last night. More rallies are planned for today as the state Senate takes up the bill. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.